Okay, I don't know about the rest of you, but I am exhausted. The last week was the longest year of my life. If you follow me on Twitter, you know we shut things down a little bit at the Writers' Jam so that we could focus on what was important, which was electing a president. And fortunately, in my humble opinion, we elected the right person, we elected the right team, but it's been a long and hard few days, and people were really scared, and people were really nervous, and a lot of people in my life were concerned about what was going to happen. And it's hard to watch 70 million people vote in a way that threatens your existence, whether it be your marriage or the way in which you're treated in society, any of that stuff. So I thought putting out an episode didn't make a whole lot of sense. The other reason I wanted to hold off is because the interview that you're going to hear today is important for a lot of reasons. I love books. That's why we're here. So I always think those things are important conversations to have. But Ava is a really interesting case for me because I lived through the first Gulf War. I was in college as a freshman when it happened. And that was the first time that I became aware of the Kurds. But that's all that I know about them, other than they were sort of our allies and the people that we partnered with in the Middle East as we were trying to oust Saddam Hussein. That's all I know. I don't know what else you guys know about that, but I'm 48, so if you are about my age, my guess is that's all you know as well. Then we hear with the last president, when we pulled out of the Middle East, when we began pulling our troops back, the Kurdish troops that had been our partners for 30 years, we left them. And we left them at the mercy of the people we had been fighting. In between those two times, I'll be honest, I didn't give much thought to the Kurdish people. It was just not a thing that was on my mind. And so when I got the email, I don't know, a couple months back from Ava's publicist and said, hey, do you want to interview this person? She's written this book in English. She's the first Kurdish woman to do that. I was like, absolutely, absolutely. Because it's important for us to interview people from all over the place, which we've tried to do this year, and I think we've done a pretty good job. But personally for me, it was one of those moments where I was struck with the fact that I had been hearing about this group of people my whole life, my whole adult life, from 18 to now, 30 years, and I knew very, very little about them. I like to think that I'm a well-informed person. If you listen to the show, you know that's absolutely not true, which I think is like a lot of people. Right? We like to think that we're relatively well-informed, and as it turns out, when you put the hood of the car up, you don't know how things work, and you realize, okay, this is not a thing that I know. And so talking to her was very personally important to me. Along the way, what happened is what always happens on this show. The amount of crossover between our lives. There's a Venn diagram. Now, I'm going to be honest. Her life, the things outside of that Venn diagram are something that I can't even imagine, something that none of you can imagine. Very few of you. I'm sure that there are some of you listening who have. That's why that conversation is important. And I didn't do research, as I never do research on this show, because it also felt important to have this conversation the way I think most Americans would have this conversation, which is trying to understand not only how this is such a blind spot in my own life, in our own lives, how do we not know about these things, but also as an opportunity to, in that search, to find so many things that are inside the Venn diagram. You know, there's a lot of things that were very easy to relate to, and I just think that's important. And I wanted to hold off on doing this interview until after the election for a lot of reasons. And I hope that as you listen to our conversation, it will bring as much joy as it brought me to do it. I hope you will learn a few things in the same way I did. I hope you will go out and buy her book, Daughters of Smoke and Fire. So that's what I got up thinking today after this election, after I had decided to hold off on this episode until after, and thinking and reflecting on the Gulf War in 1990, about the decision to pull out a few years ago, about the amount of things that I don't know about the Kurdish people, and just about how wonderful this conversation is with another writer who wanted to tell the story.